Ahead on Q2, a scary situation. A Billings police officer lays unconscious for 90 seconds after being attacked by a knife-wielding man in a parking garage. We'll have the disturbing details. And kids and wheels in motion.
If you don't have a bike, it limits you to, a couple of blocks of your house.
Mechanics join together at a Billings school, fixing bikes and putting smiles on the faces of students. The MTN 430 News starts right now. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Russ Riesinger. A Billings police officer was seriously injured late last night after being attacked by a man inside a downtown parking garage on North Broadway. Officer Hope Reed responded to the parking garage after police received a report of a man armed with a knife who was trespassing at the location. Officer Reed made contact with the man, identified as 28-year-old John Smells of Crow Agency, and asked him to leave. That's when police say Smells attacked her, pushing her down, causing her to lose consciousness. Smells pleaded not guilty at his arraignment today. The judge called the crime absolutely atrocious and set bond at $200,000. Smells also has a number of serious pending charges in Bighorn County. Sergeant Nevada Krinke, the Sheridan police officer who died in the line of duty last year, is now being honored in Washington, D.C. It's all part of a celebration for Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week. The week honors and remembers all those who gave their lives in the line of duty. Krinke, who grew up in Montana and graduated from Bozeman High School in 2009, was shot while serving a trespass warning on February 13th of last year. William Lowry, who shot Krinke, was eventually killed by law enforcement following a 30-hour standoff. Krinke's name was added to the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in D.C., along with 146 other names. His photo has also been added to the Hall of Remembrance.
It's been a windy Thursday for many of us in Wyoming and Montana, with some rain showers, isolated thunderstorms. Most of the wet weather has been far eastern Montana, coming in from North Dakota. But you can see with all that gusty wind, we have some fast moving isolated showers and thunderstorms, a couple lightning strikes here and there, but most places not receiving very much actual precipitation. It's been mainly wind for most of us, but we also have other changes going forward, including more wind and more rain. Your 7-day forecast coming up.
The Montana Department of Commerce has ended home insurance assistance as part of the Homeowner Assistance Fund program. According to a news release, there was little interest in the insurance element of the program. No new property insurance applications will be accepted after May 23rd, but requests already submitted will still be reviewed and funded if the applicant is eligible. The Department of Commerce says funds allocated for insurance will now be redirected to property tax assistance. Acting Director Mandy Rambo says since 2022, the program has seen a 900% increase in property tax assistance expenditures. The 2026 election may not be on everyone's mind right now, but one race is already drawing interest. That's for the open seat on the Montana Supreme Court, and it comes just 6 months after the hotly contested 2024 race. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian spoke to the two candidates who've already announced their campaigns.
Associate Justice Beth Baker has a year and a half remaining on her term on the Montana Supreme Court, but she does plan to retire at the end of it. Two candidates are already saying they're interested in replacing her. They both acknowledge it's going to seem early to many Montanans, but they say they need to begin reaching out to voters now.
It takes a lot of time and effort to get your message out across Montana.
We don't have as much of an opportunity to do that just in our regular day-to-day lives.
The two candidates have two big things in common. They're both district court judges and both from Flathead County. The first will be a more familiar name to voters across the state. Dan Wilson ran unsuccessfully for an associate justice position last year. He describes himself as a constitutional conservative and opposing judicial activism. And he says his last campaign will give him a jump start this time.
When I started my campaign the last time and I spoke to people and introduced myself, told them my name, they'd say, "Who? Who are you?" This time around, they're saying, "We know who you are. We're very much in your favor. Tell us how we can help." And that's really rewarding. And that's the foundation that I plan to build on and expand.
Amy Eddy is making her first bid for a Supreme Court seat. She was appointed to district court in 2015 after working in private practice for 15 years. She says she's going to point to the experience she's had handling cases in Flathead County and around the state.
Montanans deserve a justice who can be fair, experienced, balanced, and apply the rule of law equally to the facts of each dispute. It's what I've been doing on the district court bench. And it's certainly what I would do on the Montana Supreme Court to guard people's freedoms, protect the Constitution, hold criminal defendants accountable.
Baker's seat is the only one on the Supreme Court that will be up for election in 2026. In 2024, when there were 2 open seats, the candidates together raised more than $1 million, and several million more in spending came from outside groups. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
The U.S. Supreme Court justices hearing oral arguments in a case that could impact presidential power, specifically whether federal district judges can keep blocking many parts of President Trump's agenda. Joe St. George has more.
The Supreme Court taking up one of their most consequential cases of the term on Thursday, hearing oral arguments in a case involving federal district judges and whether judges are legally sound in issuing nationwide injunctions, blocking presidential executive orders.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Thursday's oral arguments attracting the attention of activists outside the Supreme Court. And while the case before the court dealt with President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship, which legal experts say contradicts the 14th Amendment, justices are not expected to rule, at least for now, on the constitutionality of Trump's directive. Instead, oral arguments focusing on whether federal district judges have the right to block or pause presidential orders, like they have done regarding the president's birthright citizenship executive order. According to the Department of Justice and the Congressional Research Service, President Biden faced 28 universal injunctions from various district judges in his 4 years in office. Since January, at least 39 universal injunctions have blocked many parts of President Trump's agenda. That's a modern record and has resulted in frustration at the White House. In March, the president wrote on Truth Social, unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. We aren't expecting a formal opinion from the Supreme Court on this matter for several weeks, likely before the beginning of July. If the Supreme Court keeps the status quo, it will likely mean more injunctions against the Trump White House in the years to come. If the Supreme Court changes anything, though, or rules that district judges are not acting within constitutional bounds, that would be deemed a legal victory by the Trump White House and could be viewed as an expansion of presidential power. Joe St. George, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky touched down in Turkey today, hoping to take a step toward peace in his country's war with Russia. But when Russian President Vladimir Putin didn't show up at the peace talks, Zelensky accused Moscow of blowing off negotiations by sending a dummy delegation. That set off a day filled with more insults than diplomacy, with a Russian government spokesman calling Zelensky a clown and a loser for slamming their choice of negotiators. Russia's foreign minister also called Zelensky pathetic for demanding Putin attend. President Donald Trump, who's traveling in the Middle East, said he's not surprised Putin didn't show.
He wasn't going if I wasn't there, and I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together, but we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying.
3 years in, the war has killed tens of thousands of soldiers on both sides and more than 12,000 Ukrainian civilians. 1,900 bikes and dozens of schools later, the Kids in Motion program celebrated 10 years today at Sandstone Elementary. The school had started it all. About 10 times a year, bike mechanics show up to elementary and middle schools around the district to help fix kids' broken bikes. Our Matt Carmack spoke with the student and mechanic to learn the meaning behind the work.
On Thursday, these bikes got their very own spa day.
Since we've started, we have actually worked on more than 1,900 10 years ago.
It's a part of an event that's been going on for 10 years, and it's called Kids in Motion.
We fix chains, tubes, tires, derailleurs, wires.
About 5 times a semester, bicycle mechanics visit elementary and middle schools around the district to help fix bikes, like this one belonging to 4th grader Noah Nova.
Do you typically ride your bike to school or?
No, I just rode it here since I heard that people could fix my bikes.
Noah's bike has been broken for about 6 months, and now that the weather is warming back up, it's time to break out the wheels.
How long have you had this bike for, Noah?
About a year. I got it in summer for my birthday.
But Kids in Motion isn't just about fixing kids' bikes. It's about providing an equal opportunity for all children.
Like, I remember one time, one kid was like, I'm going to ride my bike home today from school. And I don't know if they'd done that before. So just being able to see those things and how excited the kids are.
The ability to go places. If you don't have a bike, it limits you to, a couple of blocks of your house. But when you've got a bike, you can stream all over the place and get there quickly and get home quickly.
That's why retired teacher Michael Walls has volunteered his time for the past 4 years.
When I was a kid, I built all my own bicycles in New York City and grew up, lived all over the place, and saw this program and gave them a call. And they asked, what's your experience? I said, I built all my own bikes.
An idea that had a goal, an equal opportunity for all kids to get outside, get active, and get a taste of freedom.
It was a bike trailer with bikes for bike education in it, and somebody had the vision to kind of take that out and turn it into the Kids in Motion trailer, and we kind of didn't know, what would come of it.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.